Don't scare her.
A child. Oh.
Don't let him walk, he's gonna push him to the ground.
Again, so
Okay, I guess my class is over.
you can't follow this.
Okay, so what we're gonna do today is search pathways from cross Ashi. Because I want you to see it as a position, not as just a way to get to submissions. Because that's the meta, right? You use leg entanglements for all kind of things, not just submissions. And you will benefit greatly if you're able to pass and take the back off of cross Ashi and not just try to catch the heel all the time. And if you get positionally better, the heel would present Jesus Christ, itself more easily. So you need to have multi-directional attacks to be able to pull most things off. If you only search one thing and all the defensive measures of your opponent are against that, and he leaves everything else open, and you don't take everything else, then you're doing yourself a disservice. So try to not do that. So the first thing we're gonna do is relatively simple. However, it's a chain of different things together. So don't be mad at me if you can't do it all the way at the beginning. But it's not a big deal. As I said before, we've got it filmed so you can re-watch it. So if you can put the whole sequence together, it's no big deal. Like the biggest takeaway from the first technique is coming up to a pass. Okay, I need to be able to heist off of the position, right? So if I have Raul, because he knows leg loss and Bill doesn't. No! Right?
I don't know that.
And he sits down, right? So, screw it. So, cross Ashi, for those of you who don't know, it's just like a little bit of a lag drag position where I fill my feet in, right? Now, I really briefly want to talk about the differences between the most well-known and used cross Ashi positions, which is cross inside, which is the saddle, and 50-50, which is an outside entanglement, okay? Because both have pros and cons, and the advantages of one of those positions covers the weaknesses of the other. So you need to be able to do both, right? So when Raul has me in cross inside Ashi, his feet are protected, right? When he is in 50-50, his feet are not as protected, right? But on the other hand, when you come cross inside and he starts going belly down, he's exposing his back, right? There's nothing in between his back and knee. There's no barrier there. So if I time it correctly and I can do it and he comes up, like I start exposing the back here, right? That's what Felipe Pena did to Gordon, right? With 50-50, you don't have that, right? So if he goes belly down from there, there's feet in the way. I can't just take the back off of those positions, right? So that's the first big difference, is you have leg exposure with 50-50 and you have back exposure with cross inside. And that's important to know. Now, the problem with cross inside defensively is I can hike the heel and I can pummel relatively easily. You don't have that with 50-50, right? With 50-50, I can't just hike the heel. He can invert through and get it, right? I mean, I can still keep the angle and try to get out of it, but still I'm stuck in the position. But defensively, I can hand fight way better, right? So if he catches the heel, I get the elbow, like this is really, really hard to get, right? With cross inside, that's much harder because he has barriers in between. Like hand fighting is not out of the picture, but it's way, way harder, right? So that's important to know. Now, the last big distinction between those positions is that cross inside is like a multi-directional tool. So let's scoot a little bit back so you don't have it up on the camera. So from here, it's super easy to heist up. If he turns too much, it's easy to start getting into back attacks from here, right? With 50-50, you're much more stuck in the position. You can use it to sweep and you can use it to pass, but it's way, way harder. Okay, so cross inside has more versatility than 50-50 has. 50-50, however, is more set in the position and you will be able to catch the heel in transitions and like in every direction. So the 50-50 position in no-gi is very heel-eccentric. And cross inside is very versatile if you know how to do it. And that's what we want to get into today, the versatility of cross inside. Because most people just don't use it like that. And even if you don't like to heel hook, you will use this position to sweep people all the time. Because entangling legs is one of the best ways to break a hip down to the floor. Does that make sense for you guys? So you need to be able to do different things with it besides heel hooking. Of course, we will go over heel hooking as well, but that's not the main deal for today. Okay? The first thing we need to be able to do is heist and understanding what hiding the heel is. So if Raul's heel is presented, then I can just catch it heel, right? So what he does is he points his heel into the side and he turns a little bit away. This makes it really, really hard. But from my perspective, there's nothing holding me down. So I can just use my leg to heist up and come up into this position. So you need to be able to heist. Now, you can't always get it, but if you can, there's a super easy pass from here, which is the cross knee slide, right? Every time I can pummel this underhook in, I can just get head position, step over, and start knee sliding, right? If I mess that up and he gets an underhook back, I just start backstepping again. And we're in the same position, and I can sit down if I want to, right? Get the secondary leg, control, whatever. Now I lose it, he hides it again, and I heist out. Pummel the underhook, get head position, and start coming over for the knee slide. He can, for whatever reason, re-pummel. I short pummel. Don't use big back steps because the Jedi mind trick is a problem. So short pummel, come back. If you want to, you can grab the secondary leg, come back into position. Now I let it go. He hides it again, and I need to be able to heist up. Get the underhook, get head position, and get it to the cross knee slide. Right? And you, especially off of hip breakdowns, you can use that a lot because people tend to post with their hands when their hip gets broken down to not fall on their back and have height, and that's underhooks for you. Right? So use that to your advantage and come up and attack a pass off of it. And if you lose the underhook, you can always use the back pummel. Surprise, surprise, we did that yesterday, to get back into your leg entanglement. But that's the easiest way to pass. Does that make sense for you guys? So do it once or twice, then it's your partner's turn, right? Does anybody need to see it again? Yes? Okay, so we sit right next to each other. I pull his knee over my knee. I bring my leg to the inside. This is cross inside. This is where I want to be. Now, I want the heel, but he's hiding it. So I start coming up and I pummel this under. I need to have head position so he doesn't re-pummel it. The near shoulder or the far head post are the positions I want to get. Because even when I'm here, like it's hard to re-pummel, right? But if I leave space and I come up, like it's really easy to re-pummel. Now I'm deep into the position and I don't want that, right? So do it with head position. So when you come up and you have the underhook, if you get this head position, it's really, really hard for him to pummel, right? There's no space. If I can get this, this is even better. Now I can come up, now I can bring him down, now I can get the position. Now I let him re-pummel. It's a short back step. Then I scoop my knee behind. Now I can get a secondary leg, sit back down, get the position, just leave it be. He's gonna hide again, and I'm gonna heist again. And follow the under. Right? Okay, 1, 2, start. Any questions regarding this?
I have a problem with getting the under.
Yes, I'll address it right away. Any other questions?
Can you show one time how you sit up?
Yeah. It's pretty much a forward heist. Heisting is a term used every time I mobilize my hip in any way, right? So the forward heist is this, and this is what I'm gonna do, right? I'm sitting in position, and I just put the heel towards the butt, start heisting forward, and bring the inside of my knee to the ankle. And that's the type of heist I'm gonna do to come up.
Prior to the underhook, what is exactly what prevents the opponent pushing you off? Or
Nothing. But we're gonna address that later. So this is like a little primer because you will need hand fighting and different options, right? But you will see that there's many instances where people need to post their hands on the floor, which always gives me the underhook. If they turn too much, there's no underhook, but then there's back exposure. So the angle depends, or the angle determines which attack I'm gonna do, right? Because if he is facing me, there's easier heel exposure. If he like really faces me, like this shoulder, like exactly. Like it's easy to get the heel, right? So let's see. The more he turns, the harder it is to get the heel. If he turns even more, then there's back exposure. And those angles are important to notice because the attacks will change depending on how much he turns. Okay, if he only is concerned with hiding the heel, he might turn all the way, but then the back is there and exposed. Which doesn't mean you can get it, but it's exposed. You can work on it, right? If he's just partially turning, it's easier to heist up. And from there, attack the heel hook, by the way, which we're gonna do later, okay? So, like the posting of the hands I was talking about, like that occurs a lot when I make his hip fall to the ground off of a sweep, for example. So if you stand up, and let's say we're in a Riva style Riva, and we're here, and I start to invert through, and then start to like sit him down here, right? And you see, like he posted his hand. That's an attack pathway we're gonna see later. Depending on how he falls, he may post this hand as well. But even if it's posted here like it is, it's still viable for me to pummel the under, right? But once this arm crosses the center line, there's no underhook anymore. Right? Those are the angles you want. And with the thing we're gonna do next, it's another follow-up for what, like a prime of what we did now. You can follow up with this when you roll through. Because I want you to be able to roll through and like try to catch the heel. Even though it can be dangerous if you don't know what to do, because there's back exposure. We've talked about it briefly at the beginning, right? So the next thing we're gonna talk about is rolling through. And even if I don't get the heel, I most of the time get a chance to come up for the pass, right? So you need to be able to change it together. So when we're here and roll hides the heel, what I'm gonna do is grab the knee, come onto my forehead, and then tuck my shoulder to be able to catch it in transition. And you see, now it's not there, but do you see where his hands are? He needs to post them so he can turn. And that's where I can heist up and go for it, right? So you need to be able to roll through the position, even if you don't get the heel. And there's some ways to expose it belly down where you might have to follow up with the roll through. That's why we're gonna do the roll through. But I want you to know that you will not just simply roll through without any setups, because against good people, there's back exposure. And you need to know that, right? Which doesn't mean you can't get away with it, but there's some risks involved. Can you follow me on the argument? Okay, very good. So, we are here. He's hitting the heel and I just want it. So I start heisting up just the way we did before. Forehead on the floor. Now I want to turn faster than him, so I need to tuck my shoulder in and maybe be able to catch heel in the transition, right? I don't want to finish here, I want to come up to my elbow and finish here. If I can't make it work, and he slips. That's when I come up, pummel the underhook again. Because he has to post his hands on the mat while he's turning. Otherwise, he can't turn. He needs his hands. And when the hands are occupied on the floor, the underhook is there. Does that make sense for you? So if you do it in isolation and people are just defending and not using their hands for posts because they don't have to, the underhook is hard to get. But off of hip breakdowns and roll throughs, the underhook is there a lot of the time. So I really want you to get into that. Okay, so just do the roll through, be a little mindful of your surroundings because you're rolling over the mat and the mat is full, right? And I want you to be able to try to catch the heel. So let your partner catch it if you know how to spin out. And if you can't, you come up to an underhook. And you can still come up and heist and pass, which is a great outcome for you. Does that make sense for you guys? So now you have A and B, like Preet tells about the jab and the cross, right? It's the same thing. To be really effective, you need both. You can't just have one or the other. Okay? Any questions? Anything I need to show again? Or does that make sense for you?
Can you show the roll through one more time?
Exactly. So we're here, I have my position, he hides it, right? I grab the knee on the inside, like the inside knee tendon on the back. That's where I want to get. I can't prevent the turn, but I can slow it down a little bit. So I really want to pull this up, come to my knees, put the head on the floor, and from here, I'm just gonna tuck my shoulder. And now I'm gonna bring this arm back so I can catch the joint, the base joint of the toes with my armpit. And while I go through, I can expose the heel. I won't finish here. I will come up, close the elbow, and have a strong finish on the low side, which is the stronger finish. Okay, so I don't want to just lay flat because good people still have the opportunity to heel slip from there. So come back up to the low side on your elbow and go for a finish there. And when you roll through, you can't get it, or you got it and you slip, then you come up, get the underhook and heist it back up again. And it's the same thing. Okay? So now, if you're better, you can do it from different different heights, different levels, because we are on the hip level right now. But we also have the kneeling and the standing level. And if you have a kneeling or a standing level, in order to not get your back taken when you do that, because the other one has height on you, you need to switch to 50-50. And if you're good at that, that's a really, really mighty tool. So I'll just briefly show it. You don't have to do it, but you can re-watch it, and it's pretty much the same thing. So when we're here, and Raul heists up onto his knee, and we're here, back, exactly. And don't turn that far, like face me a little bit. Yeah, exactly. So when I just roll through here, he has height and it's easier to extract his knee. So there's even more back exposure than before. So instead of just rolling through like I did before and get my back taken, I Granby through and get to backside 50-50. So I come onto this shoulder, completely roll over, and bring my legs to the inside for the backside 50-50, right? And that's the same thing you're gonna do against the standing position. Because if we're in a standing position, and we're here, like I inverted to the legs, and I'm here, and I can't break him down, Roll's gonna take my back off of it, right? And that's really bad. So in order for that not to happen, I switch back to 50-50. So we're here. I can't bring him down, so I switch back to backside 50-50. And he can't take the back off of it. Stand back up. If you know how to do it, you can even go double 50 from here, right? And now the back step is harder, right? But that's some extra things I want you to just consider when the level is different. Level meaning not just the level of your opponent, but the height, right? He's not on the hip, he's on the knee, he has height on me. He's standing, he has even more height on me. And the dangers become greater for me in that position if I can't break the hip down. So consider it, don't necessarily do it. The thing I showed first, just rolling through at the hip level, is the one I want you to practice. Because that's the most fundamental, and for the beginning, the most important, roll through. Does that make sense for you guys? 1, 2, go. Any questions regarding this?
You try to control pulling the foot around to force them to bend in the way that will make them roll.
Show me what you mean.
So if I want them to roll this way, I can use this foot as to make them decide to go this way, or do you just focus on controlling the thigh?
I focus on really controlling it because they want to go in that direction anyways when they know how to escape the position. And if they're kind of in the middle, we can still expose it because we're going to grab the secondary leg. That's actually what we're going to do now.
Okay.
So if you really want to expose a heel, there's a couple of options you have, which include switching positions to other entanglements, which we're not going to do today because it gets complex and I want to finish or focus on actually working with the position we're in and not switching to other positions, which still is very, very important. I switch positions all the time when people defend leg locks, but now the focus lies more on what pathways I can get from there without needing to switch positions in the entanglement itself. Does that make sense for you? So one of the best ways to expose the heel without getting my back taken is going belly down with double lever control. Double lever control just means I have the secondary leg, right? Double lever control, the name comes from the fact that I have both knees controlled through my grips and my entanglements, so I have both levers to the hip control. That's why it's double lever control, okay? John calls this double trouble, whatever you like better. I just like names that explain what we're actually doing instead of honeyhole. So take it or leave it. So when we're here, and he's not really hiding this leg too much from me, I can always grab it. There's some entries where I already have it, right? So if you want to go belly down, I'd advise you to control the secondary leg just because there's no back exposure. If I don't, as I showed prior, there's some risk of him exposing my back if I go belly down, right? But if I start heisting up here, there's a much smaller window for him to be able to take my back because I have both legs controlled. And he needs to have one leg free to base off of it and to move, right? So when we're here, I need to be able to heist. If you have problems heisting, rock back a little so you can actually lift and put your foot under. That makes the heist easier. If you just can heist from here, you can do that. But I want you to heist without needing to let go of the leg, right? It's important. So if you have problems, heist this way a little bit so you can tuck your foot and then come up and keep the knee, keep the foot. And now I'm gonna place my knee on the floor and get a deep triangle and flare my knees a little. Now I just double grip it and extract it and try to bend this knee. Now if he doesn't do anything, I can expose him here and finish belly down. It's really hard to hide the heel from him. So what he might do is, he might want to start freeing this leg and start rolling through. That's where we end up. Back here, if he comes up, we're back into our pommel to the underhook and heisting up to the cross knee slide, right? So this gives you a head up. So you're in front. You don't have to chase it that much. You're already in front of him while he does that. But if he doesn't roll himself, you don't want to roll because it will mess up your own position. So if I can get it belly down and finish it belly down, I'm going to do it. Because if I turn and he doesn't, I'm going to destroy my own position while doing so. Right? So you roll through if he rolls. If he doesn't roll through, you finish belly down. And as long as you can't extract the secondary leg, it's really, really hard to take the back off of it, right? So that's a good way to attack it. Actually, that's in one way or the other with different variations. One happened at the North American trials all the time. They were going belly down with the exposure and finished it there, all falling back. I don't want you to fall back because you can really injure your training partner if you're not careful. What I mean by that is when we're here and you're gonna get the secondary leg and we start heisting up and we're here and we start splitting the legs, and I catch it, and I fall back this direction. Like, this can be really, really, right? And if you can't control it and you don't have an experienced training partner, you will likely hurt him. So I don't want you to fall back on it. I want you to go belly down, right? And as long as you can hold your tension and your ass up in the air and not just fall down, then that's good. But be aware that belly down breaks are very devastating. So be careful with them, right? Like with every joint lock, you want to be careful, but with some joint locks, you want to be extra careful. That's one way you want to be extra careful. Okay, so don't just drop your knees down or your hip down and hip into the knee while just falling towards the floor. Because you have gravity on your side, right? You want to be careful with that. Okay, so this also can happen when I heist up because he brought his leg away. So let's say we're here and he highs it and I'm like, okay, now I can come back and get it. Which before that was really, really hard, right? So I used the heist, maybe I'm not able to get the underhook, but just catch the secondary leg, come back, and now heist again to get into position, right? So you can use that to combine it with the stuff we did before. You can't get the underhook. Okay, heist, get the secondary leg, because if he turns even more, then there's that exposure, right? So he can't turn that much more without me having an opportunity to take us back. So he most likely will stay there, but that will give you the opportunity to take the leg with you and set himself back up in the position. Does that make sense for you? Because that, like, the connections between the things I show are one of the more important things of this class. Because if you see the connections, it will work way, way better, even if you put in mechanical error here and there. Just because you can create dilemmas, it's way harder for him to beat you there. So the connection points are really important. Does everyone get the connection points between those positions? That's one of the reasons why we did the row through, right? Because if he rows through from there, we have to be able to follow. And then we can either catch the heel in the process, get the underhook, or heist back up to get the secondary leg and sit myself back in the position I was prior. Cool?
Yeah. Can you show the leg position when your head is down and you're separating the legs?
Sure.
You just said triangle, and I don't.
Yes.
think I understood.
So when we're here, I'm gonna rock back if I have problems with the heist. I heist, bring my knee towards my own heel, right? From there, I'm gonna fall forward and place the knee on the floor. And now I'm gonna triangle deep. That's the deep triangle one.
Place his knee on the floor.
This is what I wanna have. That's the deep triangle I was talking about. Because we didn't have that before, right? And when we're here, we're gonna start splitting the legs. Bring the elbow in. If you don't bring the elbow in, he might kick you in the face and you don't want that, right? Then catch the heel. And now I can just finish belly down really, really easily. Of course, I will connect my hands, right? But we don't need to do it from here. Like once I've given up on this leg because I want to have my heel here, he might be able to roll out of the position, right? So if he starts to, I'm just gonna fall. Get the heel, or start heisting back up to the underhook. If I can't get the underhook, I heist up, get the secondary leg again, and everything's fine. And that's the connection between all those points, right? Good? 1, 2, go. Could everyone make it work for a belly down finish? Because what I did was just give you a framework, right? I didn't explain finishing mechanics, nothing, right? So I left a lot of details out just because it would be too much, right? So if you don't know how heel hook mechanics work for the actual break, we're gonna do that at a different time. Or you can ask me during the open mats or after or whatever, I can show you, that's no problem. But if you really, really don't know how to finish the heel or the heel hook per se from there, then that's no big deal as of now. But invest a little bit of time in it afterwards so you can actually finish with the position, right? But that's not the main deal from here. The main deal is being able to expose the heel. Exposing the heel is the hard thing. Finishing it is the easier part, okay?
Just to check my understanding of where this fits in. So we have this double lever control, and other than clover leaf and things like that, if I want to get the primary heel, rather than letting go, and then there's that window that he can escape,
Exactly.
and people are getting very good at that.
Yeah.
It maintains control for a longer period of time, and you have a smaller window where you get that.
Exactly. It just closes the window down so it's manageable for you.
Yeah.
That's what it does. It doesn't close it down completely.
No,
right?
because there's still that bit where he's there,
Exactly.
and
But it gives you so many options, and when they start turning out, they really have to overcompensate, which gives you the positioning we've been talking about,
yeah,
right?
to get past. Yeah.
To get the pass, for example. Right? So, and that's what it's all about. Different pathways that either give you a pass, a back take, which we're going to do next, or the heel. And if you have all three, you can create trilemmas with it and be really, really, really effective with all that stuff. If you only can do one, it's going to be hard. If you can do two, that's better. But if you can combine all three, man, that's deadly if you can time it correctly. Now the timing, as we discussed yesterday, is the thing that makes it work or doesn't make it work, right? So you need to invest in the timing of those things, which if we have time, we're gonna do very briefly and see how that works, okay? Any other questions regarding the belly downhill? Okay, great. So, if Raul kills the angle even more, so he starts like really, really turning, and maybe even, come back for a second, maybe even like pushing this, which is a problem for me, right? So if he starts pushing this, like it's hard for me to high stop. I can't high stop properly unless I fight it, right? So what I want to do is in the process, so people at the beginning, you don't have to turn that much at the beginning, but you need to overturn a little. So this shoulder needs to be in front of the other shoulder, right? So if he starts going now, what I'm going to do is I grab this and I grab this. And I just want to strip the grip so I can pummel my knee to the backside. That's what I want to do, right? And then I have different options for leg configurations. I show you my favorite example, but there's others you can use. You can use bear traps from there or anything you want, right? You have different options. But what I'm gonna do is, I'm just gonna strip this grip if it's there, and I'm gonna pummel this knee on the back of this knee. Now, as soon as I strip this, I just switch to the leg. And my favorite thing from here, you can go bear traps if you want to, right? But my favorite thing is getting a crab back hooking. Right? And I start extending it forward, which makes his base really, really off behind him. And I can just scoot back and sit him in my lap. And from here I can create back exposure. And if you can't create that, there's no big deal because you can heist up with it. You don't have to sit him back down if the angle is not correct. So, now we're here, and he starts going. I want to be here. Get this. Now I can regrip if I want to. I just push this over to get the crab right hook. And even if I can't create the angle to come up on the crab ride per se and just sit him back down, I can just bring him forward, go forward. No, I mean, I stop. Do you always have to shove him so he does things? Yes.
Sometimes.
So, do it again. If he has this, I need this. If he doesn't, I don't need it, right? I pummel, I come back, and see this, even if I lose the hip, try to run away from him, like it's really, really hard. And I can still use that to sit him back down, or just come up into positions, right? I have body lock, I have everything I need to attack the back from there. Which is a long way, don't get me wrong, you don't have the back yet. But you have a better position, you can come up, you can score, you can, work with the position. So he has done everything to get out of the heel hook, but he gives you something else. And if you try to catch the heel, when he's overcompensating that much, it's gonna be really, really hard. So just take the easier route, right? And as I said before, even if you lose the hip, you still have the leg. Even if you lose the other leg, you still have one leg. It's not easy to run away. So let's say I mess up big time, right? So let's say we're here, he goes, I want to have the hip, we're going to go here, I lose the hip, and I lose this one as well. Now, look where we are. We just need to wrestle up. We still have control. He still is not out of the position. So that would be a sweep, right? You get points for that. If you don't care for that, doesn't matter, right? You should care for it a little, because boom, and other things, you know? And if I want to play guard after, just because I, want to humiliate him, I just take him down and sit back and grin while he has to come back up so I can play out of it. Right? Just be mean. Does anybody need to see it again? Yes. Okay, so we're here. He uses it. I get that hip. I strip the grip so I can get my knee behind. Now I get this leg and bring it in front. Now, if I heist up and bring it forward enough, I can sit him down, which I wasn't able to do now. But see, he gives me control because he's exposed here, right? If he just pulls a pre, then come up, and that's all right too, you know? But if really people want to get away, they open up. If they notice that they lost the bevel, they're going to close down, and you have to catch them before that. Does that make sense for you? So it's all about timing. Does it change anything? People want to get away, people want to get up, they need posters. That gives you control. Okay, so if you can sit him back down and expose the back right away, great. If not, come back up with it. If you lose everything, keep the leg, wrestle up, and you're deep, deep in a single leg, which is easy to finish because you have so much more than he does. Because you're in deep on shot. Good? 1, 2, go. Starts pushing this. Oh, you can do that, right? I need to adjust it, and I need to get the hip. Now I just pull this off and bring this knee up. Come over this one. Back up. So there's many, many variations of that, right? I can not show all of them, right? But be aware that you as a partner really want to turn away and run away. That's the direction you want to go for now. If you change your mind, taking the back without taking a reroute is not easy. But he will give you a leg break back, right? Which is totally fine. Or an outside knee pin we've been talking about last time. What I mean by that is the more row turns, right? The more it will be a battle about the back, right? Because it's turned all the way, and I have different ways of coming up and doing stuff, right? You can go beer trap and other things, like you have options. But if he decides to come back while I already put the knee down, right? So we're here, and he decides to come back, like that's where I need to either be able to go prep rise, or get this one out and come back up into leg drags and knee pins, right? So if he decides he wants to turn back in, then you can change that off, but you need to be prepared for it. So he's off, oh, leg lock, no, oh shit, back, no, he comes back, right? And you can even use that to re-entangle the legs, and that's where you have a dilemma, right? Because when we're here, he turns out, pass, he turns even more, it's back take. If he turns back in, it's pass, if he turns even more, it's back into the legs, right? You need to keep that in mind. That's the technical part about it, and that's the thing where you need to practice with time. Okay? I know we've been doing a lot of technique. We do one more technique, and then I want you to work on it in isolation, because we've been running through those things quite quickly. And I just wanted to get those points across, because you can see the big picture then. And that is sometimes way more helpful than taking one technique out of it really, really well. If you can see a big picture, you can work around. Does that make sense for you? So yes, it's definitely a knot. Like, watch it as soon as it is up. If it is up, when will it be up? After the count. After the camp in 2 years.
No, it's going to be fast.
It's going to be fast. Did you hear that? He's still not disclosing how fast it's going to be. It's just fast. Okay, so one more thing. Those are the most important ones, but I want you to be able to come up and not get an underhook and not wanting to go back into legs. So what do I do then? Like just abandon the position is no option, right? So let's say we're here. We have cross inside Ashi. And he starts turning away. I heist up like I've done before, right? And now I don't have any gaps here. He's not turning so much that I can expose the back, right? But I don't want to leg lock because I want to use it as a sweep, for example, and I'm not allowed to heel hook if some rule says whatever. I just want to have a pass. So now we're going to do an entry that seems fancy into the Kimura trap. And then you can just practice the stuff that Preet was doing with you to escape it. And I show one option, you can just kill the escape and make that Preet shit not work. But he's not even, he's paying attention. So, this arm is hidden, right? Do you see this pocket here? I can expose that, which is coming over. And we're in the Kimura trap. Now, because Raul paid attention in previous teaching, he's going to start not coming up, not coming up, but he will start coming down, right? Oh wait, you want to have to. He's going to come down and start the hocking, right? And going to one, free the elbow and attack me now. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't want that. Right? So while he does it, before he switches to the baby bridge, and he starts wandering out, I'm going to put my forehead on the bicep. And I'm just going to heist up, step over the leg, or step my leg over the head. Now bounce a little, just for good measure. And because we were doing leg lock stuff, we can't just rip it out, so I'm just going to place my foot on the inside, let everything go back to cross Ashi, and we're back in business.
Sweet.
Right now, he is hiding his leg again. I want to heist, I don't want to heel hook, but I can't take the back, so I'm just going to come in. And we're back in business. Now he knows how to escape it, this time on the other side, unfortunately for you. So I need to be able to remain the elbow in the position. I'm going to heist up, step over. Now, I don't want to rip it out, so I bring it in, let everything go, get back into position, and we have a nice roll we can do. Now, you don't need that off. You just need to heist up into the Kimura. Okay? That's the most important thing.
Yeah, can you show the Kimura once more?
Yes. The most important thing is that you get this one in first. You want to have this. You can even get this. If I have this, I can start going for this, right? But the sooner I get control, the better. So if you can, come around, grab right away, and catch it. It's not a jump. I'm just sliding off him, like a slide. Sliding off. Yeah, so you don't really need jumping. You're just sliding off his back. Don't reach in front of the head, reach behind the head. Right? If you need, you're here. You can even get some height with just leg pressing. And then you can get the grip, and then you have a nice entry into the Kimura trap, and then you can do all the stuff that, as I said before, pre-show. Right? So you have an option. If he's not exposing the back, you can't get the underhook, and you don't want to leg lock. And from there, you can come up, or expose the back, or whatever your game is from there. If you don't have a Kimura trap game, I advise you to get one because it's simple. Right? Good. Need to show it once more, or? Yeah. So, we start here. He is hiding the heel. I start heisting up. I can't get the underhook. I don't want the leg. He's not turning enough so I can expose the back right away. So I just get head height, get this one in, fall over, just slide down, get the grip. Now, if that's all you want to do, that's totally fine. But if you want to do the hawking, then pre-choke, he's going to get out of the position. Now, if I'm quick enough, before he switches to the baby bridge, I'm just going to put my forehead in between, start scissoring so I can come up. Now I put my biceps in position so he can't walk out, cover the hat, and just because we want to, step back into the legs and let go. I slide and I do. There's timing for that as well, right? You just don't want to just step in because he's going to fight it, right? But if he's worried about the Kimura, you can enter the legs again. Okay? 1, 2, go. So this may be a puzzle piece you will not use as much. As I said before, if you don't have any Kimura trap game, right? But it's worth investing. So, because we were running through things, we still have plenty of time. So I'll give you one round where you just can rehearse everything you've been doing. And I won't be showing it again, just because I want you to try to memorize everything out of your own mind without seeing it again. So it's been like 5 techniques in total. Try to get everything to work. First technique, second, third, till you're at the 5th. And then it's your partner's turn. If you have problems, you can do the first technique, your partner's going to do the first technique. Then you go to the second technique, the partner goes to the second technique. Right? If you have problems with that. But if you can memorize everything without your partner's help, try to go through all of it. And even if you're further than that in your development, try to at least combine 2 of the things we did somehow. Like, doesn't matter how. Because you can end up buying everything with everything. Right? Does everybody know what you guys are supposed to do? Good. Help your training partner. If you can't, really can't make it work with the help of your training partner, call me. Then I'll go help. Okay, but try to do it as good as possible. And it doesn't need to be perfect. If you do mistakes, that's no big issue as long as like the big framework is there. Okay? 1, 2, go. Could everyone get almost everything to work? Doesn't need to be perfect, but in the right direction, let's put it that way. Is someone who had problems anywhere and really couldn't make it work? Okay, great. Anything you still have a question on when it comes to details or anything of that sort?
When you jump the Kimura, you would prefer to jump without the seatbelt version, right? So
Yeah. I don't want to jump with the seatbelt, even though that's an option. But generally speaking, if you go for the seatbelt, which is a great option, by the way, it's harder to pummel the knee up. So the knee is a little more stuck and you need to have more leg dexterity to get it out. And it's easier with the Kimura. But it's definitely an option, and if you want to look into that, you can still do that. Any other questions?
Did you show coming up to a leg track also?
Well, I showed you, we didn't do it, but I showed it briefly.
Yeah.
Like when you were attacking the leg, the back of him turning, and he decides he wants to come back.
Oh, right.
You either can invert into barrel boulders and crab rides, or you can opt for the leg drag and just come up.
Yeah, that's it. What was the situation?
Anything else? Okay, great. So we work 2 minutes each. I want you to either be able to catch a heel or come up on a pass or a back take, right? So you need to combine at least A and B. Your partner needs to win, okay? So he needs to get the heel hook or the back or the pass, okay? So don't resist so much that your partner can practice it. If it's going fine, you can add the resistance. If you're more experienced, if your partner's more experienced, you can go A, B, A, C, right? You can further mix those things together. If your partner can follow it, if he can't, do less, okay? And we're gonna give each other feedback afterwards. 2 minutes each. Does everyone know what you're supposed to do? Oh, that will cost you. Okay, any questions that manifested itself during the isolation training? Remember the class yesterday in regards to pummeling, like the 1 hour session about drilling? Do that. Get those things done. Like do the just technique drill, get like the technique itself to work. Then start chaining. Start rolling through to the knee slide. Rolling through to back exposure. Rolling through to the Kimura trap. Or vice versa, right? Chaining. Then do reactional training. Okay, do they give me the underhook? Do they give me the back? And I have to react and make it work with timing. And then do isolation training, just like we did. Now, with like all the techniques we've been doing, so there's quite some complexity in it, but if you can make it work, you can make it work. And that's really, really beneficial for you guys. And this makes you really be able to do the stuff in live training or live competition later on. Any questions regarding anything I've been teaching today?
This stuff that you now taught, how complete game this is from the cross-action? Of course, you didn't go to the finishing mechanics, but the options, like is this just a piece of it, or is this most of it?
There's way more, but this is enough so that you can be really effective with it if you know how to combine those things. So there's much more, and some is preference, some is additional info,